When the day feels heavier than the calendar says it should, you are not imagining the pressure that has been sitting on your chest. You have carried a long season with a calm face, but inside you have felt the weight of a locked door, a delayed answer, and a silence that seemed to know your name. There were mornings when you looked at the same room, the same chair, the same phone on the table, and still something in you knew the atmosphere had changed. The old interpretation said you were stuck, overlooked, and late, but that was never the full truth. What has been resisting you has also been revealing you, because not every delay is denial, and not every closed door is rejection. There is a way God uses pressure like the river uses stone, not to destroy what is holy in you, but to shape it until it can carry more. You have felt that shaping in your shoulders, in the tight breath you took before opening messages, in the quiet ache behind your eyes when no one noticed how hard you were trying. Even the hard days have been speaking, and they have not been speaking defeat. They have been speaking formation, restraint, and a hidden mercy that did not leave you where it found you. So stay with me, because the thing that has been pressing on you is not here to bury you. It is here to bring you to the edge of what was always waiting on the other side of the weight. You have probably had to keep functioning while something inside you was asking for a different kind of strength. You made coffee, answered the door, cleaned the kitchen, and moved through the ordinary places of your life while carrying a private ache that never fully left your body. The spoon hit the cup, the screen lit up, the room stayed quiet, and still your spirit kept listening for a signal that seemed late in coming. That kind of waiting can make a person feel invisible, but invisibility is not the same thing as absence. Attention, you need to prepare now. I put together an exclusive resource for those who feel set apart for something greater, but live surrounded by noise, distractions, and mental overload. This is a 30-day journey that will transform your life. A guided path to armor your mind and prepare for what's coming with daily practices of focus, boundaries, and discipline. Stop negotiating with the noise. Learn to spot distractions before they control you. And strengthen your mind. Also available in an immersive audio version. Over 10 Zuru readers have already transformed their lives through the 30-day journey. Thousands of people have already started this transformation. People like you who are tired of living in the fog. Ordinary people who decided to stop accepting mental chaos. Take advantage of this limited time offer only this month. Access your link just below in the pinned comment. Sometimes the season that hides you is the very season that protects what is being prepared. You may have been tempted to call it punishment, yet the deeper pattern says it has been preservation, redirection, and timing that belong to a larger hand than your own. The old path wanted you to react quickly, explain yourself constantly, and force what was not ready. But your body kept slowing down as if it knew a better order was being written. Your hands have rested on the table longer than usual, your breath has dropped deeper than usual, and your heart has been learning how to wait without breaking. That waiting has cost you, but it has also been teaching you a kind of endurance that noise cannot counterfeit. There is a quiet strength in the one who keeps listening when the room has gone silent. There is a deeper strength in the one who does not confuse silence with abandonment, and that is why this moment is not random, because what has been silent has been gathering meaning. You have reached a point where the old story no longer fits the life you are actually living. The fear says you are behind, but your steps have been arriving exactly where they needed to arrive, one hidden mercy at a time. The room may still look ordinary, the light may still fall across the floor in the same way, but the person standing in it is not the same person who stood there before. Your chest knows it, your sleep knows it, and the small ache that appears when you think about the past knows it too. What is being revealed is that the pressure was not pointless, the tears were not wasted, and the waiting was not empty. A psalm-like truth follows you here. You may have been brought low, but you were not brought out of sight. You may have felt surrounded, but you were never surrounded without purpose. The contrast is sharp now because the old voice used shame, while the new voice uses clarity. The old voice rushed you, while the new voice steadies you. The old voice said, "Prove it," but the new voice says, "Receive it." And in that exchange, a different kind of future begins to stand up inside you. You have been noticing signs in the places where you used to stop noticing anything at all. A door that stayed shut, a conversation that ended early, a plan that slipped from your hands, a sudden need to rest when you wanted to push through. Even these things have had a pattern to them, like marks on a path that only become visible when the light changes. Your mind may have called it bad luck, but your spirit has been learning discernment. There is a difference between being blocked and being redirected, between being overlooked and being held back from what would have drained you. The pain of the season is real, yet so is the wisdom inside it. You do not need to romanticize the struggle to recognize that it has been working on you. Your shoulders have told the truth, your silence has told the truth, and the way you keep returning to prayer after disappointment has told the truth. The old identity wanted you to measure yourself by speed, approval, and visible reward, but that measure has been breaking. What is being restored is a steadier way of knowing that does not collapse when the answer takes time. It is a hard lesson, but it is a holy one, because the heart that learns to wait without bitterness learns how to carry promise without distortion. And that is why this season has been heavier than it looked from the outside. There is a hidden river in this story, and it has been cutting its way through stone, whether anyone applauded it or not. Imagine the water moving in a narrow place where the banks are dark, and the current keeps speaking against resistance. It does not break the stone by yelling at it. It wears the edges down by staying faithful to the path in front of it. That is what this season has been doing with your life, working in repetition, working in quiet, working where no audience could validate the progress. You may have looked at yourself and only seen what remained unfinished, but the river does not measure worth by what has not yet changed. It measures the whole route, the pressure, the surrender, and the shape that remains after the current has passed. Your body has felt this image without naming it. The tired jaw, the slow exhale, the hand resting on the chest when nobody was watching. The inner life has been saying, "Keep going," even when the outer life wanted to quit. That tension between what can be seen and what is still being formed is where the real work has happened. It has not been glamorous, and it has not been loud. It has been steady, hidden, and exact. And if you have been wondering why the struggle has lasted so long, it may be because some things only release their deepest strength after repeated pressure. The river teaches what comfort never could. It teaches that enduring does not mean losing, and that the stone that survives the current becomes a witness of the current itself. The reason this matters is that your next step will not be powered by panic. It will be powered by recognition. You are being taught how to stand in a place where old fear cannot name you anymore. That means some doors will no longer control your mood, and some delays will no longer control your identity. You will still feel the memory of the strain, but it will not get the final word. The memory will become a marker, not a master. When you remember how many times you were tempted to fold, you will also remember how many times you kept breathing, kept praying, kept moving, kept listening. That memory is becoming a testimony in your bones. There is a line that will stay with you if you let it. Pressure does not only expose weakness, it also reveals what refuses to be erased. And what refuses to be erased in you is not rebellion, not noise, not performance, but a quiet belonging that has kept returning. That belonging is opening the next section of your path, and what comes next is not smaller than what came before. It is more precise, more honest, and more aligned with the person you have become in the dark. If you have felt one of these words land inside you, type 888 in the comments and come back to me. This is not a decoration and not a symbol for luck, but a quiet sign that overflow has been near your life in a way you could not yet fully explain. The point is not the number itself, but the agreement it marks in you, the small yes that says you are still listening. Your fingers writing it are a witness that the season is speaking back. Keep reading the signs with me, because what has been hidden is still unfolding. You have probably noticed that the river keeps returning to the same bend, the same narrow place, the same resistance, and still it does not turn away. That is because the work being done in you is not random repetition. It is a focused shaping that goes deeper each time. One day you feel almost finished with the struggle, and the next day the same pressure returns in a new form, as if the current is checking whether the stone has truly been softened. Your life may have felt like that, with patterns repeating in work, in family, in the quiet of your room, and even in the pauses between messages. Yet repetition can mean formation, when the purpose is to make something stable enough to carry weight. Your body has felt the return of the same tiredness, the same tension across the forehead, the same hesitation before hope. But those sensations are not the proof of failure. They are the proof that the old crust is still being worn away. There is a difference between a wound that keeps reopening and a surface that is being polished by truth. You have been living the second one more than you know. The river does not ask the stone to understand every current before it yields. It only asks for enough surrender to let the water do what water was made to do. And so your spirit has been learning how to release control without releasing dignity. That is a rare lesson, and it is preparing you for a place where panic will no longer be your first language. You may have thought your exhaustion was only physical, but part of it has been the fatigue of constantly translating yourself for rooms that never truly listened. That kind of strain is heavier than labor, because it asks the heart to keep proving what should have been recognized. The phone in your hand, the chair under you, the path outside your window, all of it can seem unchanged, while something within you has already crossed a threshold. You have become less interested in forcing a place for yourself and more aware of the places that can already hold you. The river has been teaching you this distinction. It does not fight for every inch of ground, yet it still reaches the sea. It keeps its nature while moving around obstacles, and that is not weakness, that is wisdom under pressure. You are being invited into that same kind of wisdom, where endurance stops being a performance and becomes a settled way of being. The old interpretation said you had to conquer everything in sight. The truer one says you only need to remain faithful to the current of what is real. Your inner life has already been changing in that direction, even if your outer circumstances have not caught up yet. Some people will never notice the difference between collapse and purification, but your spirit knows the difference because it feels cleaner, quieter, and more focused after each hard passage. That is why this struggle has not merely been about survival, it has been about becoming accurate. You have been standing at the edge of a new understanding, and the edge can feel like loneliness before it feels like freedom. In the river image, the water keeps moving while the stone remains in place, and yet both are participating in the same work. One presses, one receives, and the result is a shape that did not exist before. That is what has been happening in your life through unanswered prayers, delayed openings, and moments when your own strength felt too small for the task. The pressure was never meant to define you, only to refine what was already true. Your breath has shortened under strain, then opened again in prayer. Your shoulders have tightened, then dropped in surrender. Your sleep has come and gone in fragments, as if your body was learning how to let go in stages. These are not meaningless details. They are the body's way of telling the story the mind could not yet finish. There is a holiness in that hidden conversation. The old self wanted instant relief, but the new self is learning steady trust. The old self wanted the river to stop, But the new self is learning that the river is carrying something important. When you receive that truth, you stop treating your hard season like a punishment and begin recognizing it as a corridor. A corridor still feels narrow, but it is not a prison. It is a passage, and passages are made for movement. There are moments in the night when the house feels too quiet, and your thoughts become loud enough to crowd the room. In those moments, you may have reached for your phone, checked the same message twice, or stared at the ceiling while trying to decide whether to keep believing. That is where the river has been closest, because it keeps moving even when the surface looks still. The surface of your life may have looked unchanged to others, but underneath, something has been carried forward. You did not lose the work just because it was invisible. You did not lose the answer just because it was slow. You did not lose yourself just because you had to wait in a place that felt unfinished. The hidden movement matters. The hidden correction matters. The hidden mercy matters. And the reason it matters is that it keeps you from confusing the present strain with the final verdict. The river is not done because the current is still running. Your story is not over because the pressure has not yet lifted. There is a difference between a chapter that is intense and a life that is doomed. You have been living inside intensity, not doom. That distinction changes everything because it means the weight you feel is evidence of transition, not abandonment. The stone does not always know when the river has made it smoother, but it eventually finds itself able to carry a different kind of light. So will you. Keep the phrase, "I see it in your mouth," and write it in the comments. If the image of this river has settled into a place you cannot ignore, let the recognition become visible where the hidden work has been taking place. The moment you name it, you stop treating it like a passing feeling and begin treating it like a witness. Then come back to me, because the current is still moving. You have been carried through enough pressure now that the next thing is not to panic, but to pay attention. The river has not only been smoothing the stone, it has been teaching the stone how to receive motion without losing its shape. That matters because there will be a moment when the current changes and you must not mistake the change for danger. In the practical world, that may look like an unexpected opening, a clearer answer, a quieter mind, or a conversation that finally says what your heart has been waiting to hear. In the inner world, it looks like less resistance when truth arrives. Your chest no longer clamps shut as quickly, your breath is less afraid, your hands are less eager to force what is not ready. These are small signs, but they are not small at all. They mean the river has been doing its work. They mean your nervous system is learning a new agreement. They mean the old emergency language is losing authority. You do not have to call every hard feeling a warning. Some hard feelings are only the last friction before release. Some pressure is the exact pressure needed to loosen what has been clinging too tightly. You are closer than the fear says. Not because the fear is always lying, but because it does not know how to read the river. The river knows how to carry a burden forward without announcing every mile. That is the wisdom being returned to you now. You have likely had to live through a contrast between what looks unfinished and what is actually forming. From the outside, people see the same routine, the same responsibilities, the same silence around certain prayers. Inside, however, you are less the person who used to beg for signs and more the person who has begun to recognize them. The stone in the river does not become polished all at once, and neither do you. The change happens in repeated contact, in the same current returning, in the same surrender being asked for again and again. What used to feel like frustration is beginning to feel like instruction. What used to feel like delay is beginning to feel like timing. That does not erase the pain, but it places the pain under a larger meaning. The old shame says you should already be further along. The truer voice says your formation has been exact. You have not been late to your own life. You have been moving through it at the speed that truth required. And that slower speed has saved you from more than you know. It has kept you from rushing into what would have broken you. It has kept you from accepting less than what your spirit can bear. It has kept you close enough to hear the water. The river keeps teaching, and your only task is to keep listening until the pressure becomes a passage instead of a burden. There is a point in this journey when the repetition itself begins to feel like a sacred handwriting. The same recurring obstacles, the same inner pauses, the same need to breathe before you answer, all of it has a shape now. It is as if the river has been tracing a line through your life that could not be traced any other way. You may still feel tired, but the tiredness is changing. It is less like collapse and more like the body after a hard climb, when the lungs are open and the heart knows it has crossed into higher ground. That kind of tiredness is not the end of the road. It is the sign that the road has mattered. Your soul has been learning that not every burden is a verdict. Some burdens are only the last weight before the gate swings wider. Some burdens are the final proof that the old structure cannot hold the new depth. In that way, the river and the stone are both speaking. The river says, keep moving. The stone says, keep holding shape. Together they create a testimony that no easy season could have taught. And you, standing in the middle of it, are no longer just surviving the current. You are learning from it. That is the difference that changes the future. That is the difference that will let you recognize peace when it arrives. Peace will not feel like emptiness. It will feel like alignment after a long resistance. You have survived too much to call this moment ordinary, even if the room around you still looks ordinary. The same table, the same lamp, the same late hour can become a sanctuary when you realize what has been carried through them. The river does not ask for applause, and neither does this kind of hidden endurance. It asks for honesty, patience, and a willingness to let the water keep doing its work. There were days when you thought the pressing would make you hard, but instead it has been making you clear. There were moments when you thought the waiting would make you smaller, but instead it has been teaching you how to stand without scattering. Your spirit has learned to be less reactive and more anchored. That is not a small change. It is the kind of change that alters the way you meet every future challenge. Even the old triggers do not land the same way now. The same comment, the same delay, the same uncertainty no longer has total authority over your internal world. Something deeper has begun to govern you. That deeper thing is not fear. It is not performance. It is not the need to be understood by everyone. It is a steadier knowing that the current has not abandoned you. It has been carrying you toward a place where your shape can finally serve your calling. There is someone in your life who needs this exact message tonight. Someone quietly tired, someone secretly seeking, someone carrying a posture nobody sees, someone working hard while feeling unseen. Someone whose face came to mind as you heard the river and the stone speaking together. Send this to them, not as a recommendation, but as a delivery, the same way it was delivered to you by appointment. And stay with me, because this movement is not only about you reaching, it is about the message continuing its work in another heart. The stone does not keep what the river gives it for itself alone. It becomes a witness on the bank for whoever comes after. You have probably noticed that when a truth really lands, it does not arrive as noise. It arrives as recognition so quiet you can almost miss it. That is why this season has been so hard to explain, because what is most important about it has been happening below the level of explanation. The river has been doing what the river does, and the stone has been learning what the stone must learn. You have been asked to endure without always understanding, to trust without controlling, and to keep your dignity while the current pressed hard against you. That is not easy, but it is meaningful. The evidence is in the way you still return to what is holy, the way you still pray after disappointment, the way you still hope after a closed door. Those returns are not random habits. They are the outline of a deeper identity taking shape. The old self wanted dramatic proof. The new self has learned to recognize subtle mercy. The old self wanted everything to resolve in one moment. The new self knows that formation is often a process of many contacts, many passes, many quiet confirmations. So when you look back now, you can see that the struggle was never empty. It was shaping your weight, your pace, your patience, and your perception. It was teaching you how to live from a place that no longer needs the river to be gentle in order to remain faithful. You are beginning to understand that the hard trial was not only hard, it was revealing what could not be built any other way. The river's pressure has exposed false strength and also uncovered a steadier one. You may have thought your limit was the end, but it was often just the point where your own control stopped and trust began. That line matters because it shows why this season had to feel so intense. It was never only about what you could endure. It was about what could be formed in you through endurance. The concrete signs were ordinary and relentless. The late-night scrolling that became prayer, the unanswered text that became a lesson in release, the room that stayed quiet long enough for your own thoughts to be heard. In those moments, the river was not flashy, it was faithful. And faithful work is often hidden work, yet hidden does not mean insignificant. Hidden means the root is still below the surface, drinking deeply before the tree can be seen. Your roots have been going down. That is why the wind has not been able to take you. That is why the same pressure that once terrified you is beginning to reveal stability. The current has not taken your life apart. It has been teaching the parts how to belong together. You have reached the point where your body knows. There is no use pretending the struggle was small. The knot in your stomach, the tightness in your chest, the tiredness behind your eyes, all testify that the season was real. But they also testify that you were real inside it, and that matters more than the old voice ever admitted. The river has not been asking you to perform in vulnerability. It has been asking you to remain present, present in the kitchen, present in the car, present at the desk, present in the prayer that is not polished enough to impress anyone, present in the moment when your strength ran low and you still did not abandon what was true. That kind of presence is a form of faith. It is a form of courage. It is also a form of release, because to stay present is to stop living two lives, one for appearances and one for truth. The pressure has been stripping away the split. That is why some of what hurt you also clarified you. The river keeps washing away what cannot stay and revealing what can. It is a severe kindness, but it is kindness all the same. And now you are standing in the aftermath of that kindness, with more clarity than you had before, and less appetite for illusion. You may not feel dramatic, but you are deeply changed. That matters because change of this kind is easy to miss if you keep measuring by external applause. The river does not wait for applause before it keeps moving, and neither does your spirit. You have learned how to carry a private yes through public silence. You have learned how to keep moving when no one can see the exact reason. You have learned how to let pressure become information instead of intimidation. These lessons are not theoretical. They are in your habits, your reactions, your shorter temper, your quicker prayer, your slower decision to trust. They are in the way you no longer waste energy on every voice that wants your attention. There is less noise now, and the quiet feels earned. That quiet is not emptiness. It is space. It is room for the current to finish what it started. It is room for you to hear what the rush once drowned out. The old days taught you to survive the noise. The present moment is teaching you how to inhabit peace. That is the river's gift after the pressure has done its work. It does not leave you exactly as it found you. It leaves you more honest, more grounded, and more available to what comes next. Before this closes, type "I am chosen" in the comments. Do not write it as a wish, and do not treat it like a dream that might or might not belong to you. Write it as confirmation, because the current has been carrying you toward this. Attention, you need to prepare now. I put together an exclusive resource for those who feel set apart for something greater, but live surrounded by noise, distractions, and mental overload. This is a 30-day journey that will transform your life. A guided path to armor your mind and prepare for what's coming with daily practices of focus, boundaries, and discipline. Stop negotiating with the noise. Learn to spot distractions before they control you, and strengthen your mind. Also available in an immersive audio version. Over 10 Zuzazara readers have already transformed their lives through the 30-day journey. Thousands of people have already started this transformation. People like you who are tired of living in the fog. Ordinary people who decided to stop accepting mental chaos. Take advantage of this limited time offer only this month. Access your link just below in the pinned comment.